Hey guys, I just wanted to do my review of Legends of Tomorrow, the season finale, season 2, episode 17, Aruba. So I know I haven't been active for several weeks, but there's a lot of stuff there's a bunch of stuff going on in my life, and my computer broke, and I had to go out and get another one, and download all my re-download pictures for my reviews, and get the new recording software, re-download the recording software on the new computer, register it, etc. So anyway, I'll give you my late review of season finale. So Rip is able to escape from Star Labs, and he apparently didn't realize it until he saw the desk lamp that he was shrunk, and it wasn't until he was able to fly out of the lab undetected that the and met up with the other legends that he realized that he was shrunk down by Thawne by Ray's suit, by the technology from Ray's suit, not the Spear of Destiny. So they go back to try to get to the suit. And I would have thought it would have been a cool twist that he was keeping the suit in the time. Thawne actually kept the suit in the time vault. He actually kept it in what used to be Cisco's work lab. And it's kind of this funny moment where he's like, kind of like, like Ray's like caressing it and he's like kissing it. And it's like, "I'll never leave you again," which weirds out Jax. But then they're ambushed by Thawne, Dark, who tried to telekinetically choke him with his magic abilities. The mini Wave Rider tries to fire on Dark, but doesn't do anything. But then that's where he has that scene from the trailer. He's just laughing. He's like, "Oh, isn't that adorable?" And then Dark's just knocked unconscious by Mick. So Ray's able to get to his suit, unshrink the Wave Rider, and they head back to 1916 to stop the Legion from getting their hands on the spear in the first place and help their past selves. And at first they don't want to interact with their past selves, so they try to get the vial of blood and leave it in that pillar, for lack of better terms, that brick pillar where it had the pseudo armor and the map that they found in 215. And Eobard Thawne followed them back from the future and actually literally rips out Ray's heart, killing him. And then decide, okay, now we got to like sneak onto the Wave Rider of our past selves and then get the spear that way. But between, well, one being the fact that they are being terrible liars, and the fact that Nate gets distracted by seeing Amaya alive and well, they end up, their cover's kind of blown, and they try to convince the Doom World Legends try to convince the past legends that they're not the Thawne and the Legion of Doom in disguise. That doesn't go so well, and they end up, but it starts out with at least outside, like Sarah has a fight with their past selves of like past Rip and company, and then past Nate like knocks out Doom World Sarah, and then past Rip realizes that it's not Thawne and the Legion, it really is themselves, it really is their future selves. And then they explain the situation as to why they would risk like causing a paradox and interacting with them. And the Doom World Legends explain what happened about the Legion getting the spear and altering reality, and it kind of forced their hand, and so, but then and then during the whole conversation, the Wave Rider's attacked by Captain Cold and Merlin and Dark, and so past Sarah decides to take both teams, have the Wave Rider take off and make a time jump to escape, but because of a time storm caused by the paradox of both teams interacting, it crashes, and so they try to make their way to the other Wave Rider, but the Doom World Legends, realize that they're going to have to erase themselves from that. If they change the past, they're going to erase themselves from existence, and so they end up like giving and risking their lives to protect their past selves. With Doom World Jax, because he's no longer has his power, is like taking an arrow for Martin Stein, in which the past Jax is able to stab Merlin in the leg while he's distracted, and then knock him out with Merlin's bow. Dark impales Doom World Nate, and he's a, but Sarah's able to get Sarah's able to beat him in combat, and then of course there's Captain Cold he uses his cold gun to create an icicle to impale future Mick, and then Ray knocks him and then Ray, I think it was like past Ray who gets shocked, he's horrified by the death, but then I think it was either I think it was either I think yeah I think it was either like the future Mick that uses his heat gun to knock out Captain Cold, and then of course and then once they try to get to a clear area, and once they get close to the Wave Rider, they end up being stopped by Thawne, who had actually when he said he went to get backup, he actually went to go and get like an army of time remnants to ambush the Legends, which is kind of funny. It looks cool, but there's like a lot of plot-induced stupidity that has to work into this episode in order for for the Legends to survive against Thawne, because the time remnants zipping around the other Legends, just like knocking them out one by one. Rip from the future, his throat gets slashed, but everybody else is getting just knocked unconscious, which is something he just practically could have just done on his own without an army of time remnants. But this show's like fucking crazy and nonsensical in like the best possible way, in an almost kind of Fast and Furious kind of vibe that you just kind of just go with it. And so Sarah's the one who tries to recite the chant to activate the spear's power, but she feels like she says too much too much darkness that she'll be corrupted by it, and she tries to give it to Amaya, but she gets knocked out, and then all of a sudden Sarah gets a vision of herself where she's like at the Lance's house with Laurel having like movie night. But she realizes it's a fantasy, and Laurel tells her that she has to do the right thing. And Sarah says, "Even that means not having you back." And Laurel just says that she's always gonna be with her. I mean, I know that, which is kind of just BS, because like the spear's power, it was never implied to have like negative repercussions, like altering time, like the same negative repercussions as altering time. But we know. I mean, they kind of hitting you over the head with the fact that she's not Earth-1 Laurel Lance isn't coming back, especially since it was announced on by producers of Arrow that they were just going to have Katie Cassidy be series regular again as Black Siren. So, but anyway, Sarah ultimately does use the spear's power to alter reality, which is to actually depower the spear, so Thawne can't erase them from existence. And then he tries to like strike a pose and act like he's going to stab Sarah with the spear, but presumably because of the change to reality, Thawne was never, Thawne obviously will never be able to use the spear to imprison Black Flash in the future. So he comes in 1916 and impales Thawne in his chest with Black Flash's hand, and the spear and Thawne is end up disintegrating in the same way that he did at the end of Flash season 1. And so Sarah has a fading out of existence, saying, Legends never die, to quote the Goonies. The Legends take the remaining members of the Legion back to their respective points in the timeline, including Merlin, even though it's not going to really they could have just like left him with a vanishing point, or they could have dropped him off like some later point at 27 or something like that, just because he's been absent since Arrow, and his absence would not have affected the plot of the show, like say not bringing Dark back to 1987 and erasing his memories, and the same with Captain Cold, in which Mick tells him that his punishment that he'll be a better man before wiping Snart's memory. He's brought back to 2014. And so after when all's said and done, Amaya decides that she's not in a rush to get back to 1942 and wants to be with Nate, who was even willing to even go to 1942 to be with Amaya, which suggests like the fan theory that he might actually be Mari's grandfather. Although maybe that'll get explored in season 3 because they decided to take up Mick's suggestion of going to Aruba, present day Aruba, but a time storm causes them to crash land in LA of 2017, which features all these like buildings from different eras, as well as T-Rexes running amok. So I thought it was a really cool cliffhanger. It was a little disappointing that it kind of like the Doom World storyline and the Flashpoint storyline is going to be. The producer said it's going to be a self-contained story within the show and not affect the other shows much, or not have like a huge, or is not going to have to watch, or not to the extent where viewers who only watch Legends are going to have to watch the other shows to figure out what's going on with this particular storyline, even though I feel like it should. But I feel like it was just like with Flashpoint last fall, like they don't like it's budgeting reasons, and the producers don't want to like blow their load, so to speak, with considering they're gonna have a crossover later in this fall, at the end of the year. So anyway, I mean, I thought it was like a pretty good finale. I mean, the stuff about like you said, Laurel, again, I had a flimsy reason for not needing to bring that they couldn't bring Laurel back, and a flimsy reason to not imprison Merlin somewhere. Like, oh no, we're not gonna do worse than imprison him. We're gonna put him back in his crappy apartment. But it was just because they obviously want him back on Arrow, which I'm kind of dreading because I feel like he overstayed his welcome on that show. And I don't know. I guess presumably his memories have been erased, which kind of they didn't need to do that. But I kind of would have liked to have seen. It would be nice to. Time will tell if his memory was actually erased for sure. I kind of hoping it's not, just to see if that will have any impact on his character when he gets back on Arrow. But yeah, the fight scenes were great. Yeah, like the fight scenes were great. It was cathartic to have Jax knock out Merlin, and if even though like the death shouldn't have mattered, it was kind of gut wrenching to see like how the Legends had their backs against the wall, so to the extent that they had to risk their lot, that the Doom World versions of themselves had to risk their lives in order to basically just save the future. And it was still kind of like the deaths still kind of have an impact, even though they're not supposed to, or they wouldn't have mattered. But I guess maybe because they're, everybody who was a metahuman who didn't have their powers, like just seeing them going down one by one, it was kind of cathartic, and it felt like there were managed to be stakes in spite of it. And overall, I really enjoyed this season. I thought it was fantastic. I feel like it's been one of the strongest, if not the strongest, of the CW shows, the DC shows. And I can't wait for season 3. I hope they keep this up and it doesn't fall victim to like the season 3 curse that Arrow and Flash did. So, what are your guys' theories for what's going to happen in season 3? What do you think of season 2? Leave your thoughts in the comments down below. If you like this video, like, share, and subscribe. I will upload my videos for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and tonight's episode of Supergirl later tonight, and I will talk to you guys soon.